to this new video on Kubernetes volume management on our Kubernetes for Beginners series. So today I'm going to show you how Kubernetes manage volume. In our previous video, we talked about multiple volumes. We talk about volumes such as mtdir, host path, persistent volume claim, and storage class. So we talk about all those volume. Now, how does Kubernetes handle those volume? How are those volume being handled in Kubernetes? Now that we know what are those volume, but how are they handled in Kubernetes? So now here by definition, we say volume in Kubernetes are crucial component, right? They are crucial component managing storage within your pod. They enable data to persist beyond live and individual container and can be used to share data between containers with the same pod. Kubernetes supports several types of volume, each of them with different characteristics. So volume are, pod are ephemeral, they can die, and when a pod dies, Kubernetes will replace the pod, and we want the same pod to bound on the same volume, right? For example, but how are those volume managed, for example, in Kubernetes? Now, in Kubernetes, we are going to have two main sections, for example, in our manifest. We are going to have two main sections. If you take an example, for example, on this, we have a persistent volume claim. If you come down here under the specification, so we are going to have a volume mount. So volume mount is where you are telling Kubernetes where to mount the volume inside the container. So this is the volume mount. This is actually inside the container. You are telling Kubernetes where to mount the volume inside the container, for example. So you are going to give the mount name called my PVC hyperstorage, but the mount path, usual share nginx HTML. Kubernetes will mount the volume here. Now here on this section called volume, you are going to tell Kubernetes where the volume is coming from. The volume can come from multiple sources. Like for example, here, the volume is coming from the persistent volume. So here, we are going to tell Kubernetes that the volume is coming from the persistent volume. So here, we are going to have a volume name, and it's coming from the persistent volume claim name, and the name is my PVC. For example, the volume can also come from mtdir. You can tell Kubernetes where the volume is coming from, mtdir. You can also tell Kubernetes that the volume is coming from host path. You can tell him that it's coming from NFS, config map, CSI, persistent volume claim, like we mentioned. So these are just few examples. But the most important thing is that we have this type of volume: persistent volume claim, mtdir, host path, NFS, config map, CSI, and even secret, right? We can mount the secret as a volume as well. So, but just be mindful that you need to tell Kubernetes where to mount the volume inside the container, and you're going to tell Kubernetes where the volume is coming from. So the volume mount is actually inside the container. So this location is inside the container, and the volume mount is actually telling Kubernetes where the volume is coming from. If this is mtdir, you are going to put mtdir here. If it's host path, you will define host path here. If it's NFS, you will define your NFS server here. If it's config map, you will reference config map here. If it's secret, you will refer your secret here. If it's a CSI container, you will reference that here. If it's a persistent volume claim, you will reference that here. So just be mindful that the volume mount and the volume is different. The volume mount is actually you're telling Kubernetes where to mount the volume in your container. And this is just in your container, and the volume is actually telling Kubernetes where the volume is coming from. I hope you like this video. See you guys in the next video. Thank you.